Yeah, we're going to touch on Caitlyn now. Obviously, she's had a few games so far. She just won her first game yesterday for the Fever.
Yep.
So that's her first ever WNBA win. But Charles Barkley was touching on this on the pregame show, I think, in game one for, I think, the West Conference Series, just calling the WNBA players petty. He just kept saying, y'all women are petty because they're slandering her for, I guess, the media attention. Just a lot of I guess because she's getting way more attention than I guess the other rookies are, and including the stars. But, Barkley backed it up saying that she gave them the charter flights now. They're not flying commercial anymore. They have their own private flights. They have better team hotels, I'm sure, now, too.
Yeah. I think everything's
so everything's improved. Yeah. I'm sure their money is getting improved with probably bonuses and just longer contracts, more money, and just get jealous over somebody else's success coming into the league, taking the spotlight from them. Which is weird because I think the player that we saw that was, I guess, Caitlyn's caliber come in recently was Sabrina Ionescu. And I feel like she wasn't getting as much hate when she came into the league.
Well, think about it this way. If you look at the college game last year, there was rivalries. Sabrina really didn't have any rivalries. It was just she was there in Oregon, UConn, and South Carolina were just beating each other up. Yeah. Now, obviously, you had the whole even the year before, you had Caitlin Clark with Iowa. You had Angel Reese and them with LSU, Haley Van Lith at Louisville at the time.
Yes.
It's just there was a lot of discourse that generated. And, sometimes it does take bad rep to grow. Sometimes you do need some negative rivalries to, you need some chippy games. That's kind of what happens. You see, there's no relationship between Wemby and Chet. I don't think they hate each other, but they certainly aren't,
No.
They're more acquaintances. They're not friends. Yeah. They don't fuck with each other. So, and I think you also kind of see that. And you just see there's a big divide with just everything, with the way they played and everything like that. And I guess the one thing is this has been a generational draft class with both the NBA and the WNBA. Right? We saw last year, and we saw this summer or this spring. This was a really stacked. Like you're going to see a lot of rookies in the WNBA getting WNBA awards, and I think when Caitlin Clark is the poster child of all of it, people are going to get jealous. And that's just what's happened. But it's just lame because it's not everyone has a contributing part to where the WNBA is today and why it's going to grow. Right? Like Caitlin Clark wouldn't be Caitlin Clark without Angel Reese or without Cameron Brink or without any of these players, right? And obviously you already have the legends that are currently playing like Sabrina and
Brianna Stewart,
and Diana Taurasi,
all
of them, So it's like it's definitely a hot topic. It's definitely controversial because there is this sort of divide between I guess just opinions, and unfortunately, it has turned very stereotypical. People have played the race card. People have done a bunch, and I think at the end of the day, you just need to enjoy them all. Don't take it for granted.
I hope for next year, because next year there's probably going to be a number one predominantly pick, and that's going to be Paige Beckers.
I think it might be Juju.
Oh, it could be Juju. Yeah, I think Juju Watkins and Paige could be one too. I think if Paige rebounds back really well, and she's a scorer, really ball-driven point guard. The fans love her. She's a fans player. She had the red shirt because she got a really bad injury going into her sophomore year. When she was a freshman, she was hyped up really well, really, because going to UConn, of course.
Well, yeah.
That's another given. But she's a player that fans love, and she'll bring in a lot of money for them along with Juju. Both really good players. That could be another draft class next year that could be for the ages as well. But this year, Caitlyn was probably the generational talent that we won't see probably for another 10 years coming into the league for them.
I think so. But, yeah, it's crazy. The slander's gotten every star player is going to get slandered, but just the shade being thrown. Like the tweet Angel Reese made the other night was just really weird. She said, I forgot exactly what she said.
Should I pull it up?
She deleted the tweet, so you can't find it.
Really?
I can't pull it up.
But she was trying to clap back at Charles Barkley and essentially said it was more than just one person that got us chartered flights. So
maybe she's just trying to say that's just the reality, and you guys are giving all the credit to Caitlin Clark, and maybe that's true.
I don't know, because it generated a lot of bad press, and
maybe it's also Angel Reese feels like she's being left out of it because she does have a high popularity, maybe not as much as Caitlin Clark, but she's up there too.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's always going to be these kind of topics are always going to be touchy feely. because there's a lot of varying opinions. And I think the craziest thing too, especially about the charter flights, I remember 2 years ago, Joe Tsai gave the Liberty charter flights for the entire season and got fined out of his ass. It's crazy, but I'm glad to see that they're all getting the charter flights now.
Angel's tweet, I think she's going off of their win that they got from the Sky. She's like, and that's on getting a win in all caps in a packed arena. Well, she meant arena, but she put area. Yeah. Arena, not just because of one player on our charter flight with the kissy emoji.
Yeah. So, and now granted, they're professionals now, so she probably has an agent telling her, delete certain tweets if they're not, if they don't go over well.
Right.
So that could be a reason why.
I also want to say one thing about this. Yeah. This whole, situation, and that is, how would we react if these players were men? Because I heard someone bring up on Instagram.
Barkley did bring that up too when he was talking about it.
Yeah, I heard someone bring up the point that if these players were men, would we be encouraging this? This is going to be good for the league. This competitiveness is going to be great for the league, right?
Right.
Or this how back in the 90s and the 80s, everyone was butting heads. That's how it was.
Right.
So would we be encouraging this if this was men? And are we only saying this is bad because this is females?
Well,
what do you think?
I think if you kind of go, I think it might just be the way the league runs its course. Because I think back in the day of the NBA, right, was it kind of similar with with the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Right.
They were kind of the ones that saved the league, and then David Stern kind of guided in the right place. I'm sure we weren't alive at the time, but I'm sure people were not fond of them.
No,
essentially among the league, because obviously if you're in the NBA, you want the attention, you want the fame. But I would not be condoning this if it was men either.
Okay. Yeah,
because I'm at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what gender you are. We're all human beings.
Right. Yeah, I think. But
isn't it one second? Yeah. Isn't it the rivalry that gives it more just appeal to fans watching? That's what saved the league. It was the rivalry.
Right.
So maybe this is what it is. Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark rivalry. It's the beginning of something.
I think it's the level of toxicity with the rivalry, the way things are being brought up. Kind of like the Jokic Embiid debates. It could have been handled a lot better because it really was not. And thank God it ended because I can't take it anymore. But I think this is getting on my nerves as well. Because, why can't you just, there's something called a healthy rivalry.
Right.
And this is far from it. Okay. And I do think Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese they're cool with each other off the court. Right? There's no issue there. It's just the outside noise from everyone else trying to make this about something that's completely blown out of proportion. When at the end of the day, that the WNBA is growing, they're getting money in, they're getting the viewership and everything. We should be celebrating that. We really shouldn't be celebrating it because this should have been happening years ago, right? But I think with the way the league is trending, I definitely think it's going to get up, and viewership will rise, and the number of teams will rise, and everything like that. I just think the discourse is going on a dangerous path, and I don't like where it's going.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing with it.
I think I'm going to close it off with this. We didn't see any negativity with Wemby coming into the league. It was all positive.
We did in the summer. Everyone was like, "Who's going to be a bust?"
Yeah, but I think the players were very welcoming of him coming in.
Yeah.
And what he was going to do for the league. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think we saw a lot of players tweeting about Wemby being a bad thing for the league.
Right.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think, I'll leave it at that. I mean, we'll see how it goes on. Hopefully, there's nothing more occurring towards the end of the season when it gets to playoff time. We'll see.
Hopefully not. Well, I mean, only not every team gets in. So we'll see who's kind of doing what. And as far as the whole Caitlin Clark not playing well, when you're the best player in your draft class, you're going to go to a shit team. That's just how it is. So they're going to lose a lot of games. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, and that's that. You even look back to last season, right? Paolo Banchero was by far the best player in that draft class outside of maybe Chet. But, you go to the Magic. Christian Brown, middle of the pack, not the greatest player, went to a championship team. That's just what it is, you know? It's not Paolo's fault that the Magic were awful.
Yeah, they made it in this playoff second year, so maybe Caitlin could do it in the second year, but I don't think the first year. It's going to be like Wemby, same thing. Spurs didn't make it in the first year.
Right. They intentionally tanked.
Yeah, that's kind of a different story. Player is not going to dramatically change that entire team.
Right, but it gets you set up for the future. That one player can change the whole future of your franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
And Caitlin Clark will do that for the Fever.
Yeah.
And Angel Reese eventually will do that for the Sky. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.